The halls of Vera Academy were alive with color and motion. Bioluminescent walls pulsed gently, casting shifting light patterns across the polished floors. Students from dozens of planets hurried past, their forms strange and wondrous tentacles, wings, shimmering skin, and floating limbs moved with effortless grace. It was a school of excellence, where the best young minds and bodies in the galaxy trained together. Lyra, a Veyran girl with violet-tinted skin and glowing markings along her arms, walked with her usual confident sway. Her eyes sparkled as she scanned the bustling corridor, always on the lookout for someone to impress or, more often, someone to mock. Her reputation at the academy was unshakable. She was smart, fast, and deadly in training simulations. No one dared challenge her, and she liked it that way. Today, however, something, or rather, someone caught her attention immediately. A boy walked awkwardly down the hall, his steps uneven and hesitant. He wore a plain gray uniform that hung loosely on his frame, and he carried a heavy-looking bag that swayed dangerously as he moved. His skin was pale, his hair a dull brown, and his eyes wide with uncertainty. He looked ordinary. Lyra's lips curved into a smile that was half amusement, half cruelty. "That's him," she murmured to herself, her glowing markings pulsing lightly with amusement. "The new human student. How weak he looks." Humans were rare at Vera Academy. Most species here had natural abilities: levitation, telekinesis, enhanced strength, telepathy. Humans had nothing, at least. That's what everyone believed. They were fragile, slow, and predictable. To Lyra, this boy was a joke waiting to happen. She stepped forward, her long fingers waving dramatically to get his attention. "Hey, human!" she called, her voice echoing slightly in the hall. "Careful with that bag. Don't trip over your own feet." The boy froze, his eyes flicking nervously toward her. He gave a small, awkward nod, but said nothing. Lyra laughed, a high, clear sound that drew the attention of nearby students. A few giggled as well, whispering to each other. Lyra strutted closer. "Do you always walk like that? Or are you trying to make a bad first impression on purpose?" The human boy swallowed and adjusted his bag. I'm just learning," he said, his voice calm but soft. "Learning?" Lyra echoed, her voice dripping with disbelief. "Learning? You mean struggling to survive here, right?" She stepped closer, tilting her head. "Tell me, human, do you even know what a training simulation is? Or are you just going to fall on your face in front of everyone?" Some students laughed louder now. The human boy's cheeks flushed, but he remained silent. Lyra found that infuriating. She loved a good response: fear, anger, embarrassment. But he gave nothing. No reaction, just calm, almost polite stillness. Her curiosity flickered. "Huh," she muttered under her breath, more to herself than him. "Interesting. Most humans panic. This one doesn't." The bell rang, signaling the start of the day's first training session. Lyra was paired with her usual partner, but when she turned, she saw the human boy being paired with her instead. Her smirk widened. "Oh, this will be fun," she said, louder, drawing attention. "I'll show him exactly why humans are weak." The training arena was a large, open space, filled with floating platforms, holographic obstacles, and combat drones. Lyra moved with grace, her glowing markings flaring as she activated her energy shield. She watched the human boy fumble as he tried to balance on a floating platform, nearly tipping over several times. "See?" she called, laughing. "Completely hopeless." He smiled faintly, a small, knowing smile that only irritated her more. Unlike other students who relied on flashy powers, he moved with deliberate precision, as if he were calculating something far beyond what anyone could see. Lyra rolled her eyes. Calculating? You? Don't make me laugh, human. The first drone approached, designed to test reflexes and combat ability. Lyra leapt effortlessly, dodging and striking with speed and accuracy. The human boy froze for a split second, then reacted not with brute force, but with clever timing. He dodged the drone in a way that made it overshoot its target, sending it crashing into a holographic wall. Lyra blinked. That shouldn't have worked. Humans weren't supposed to be able to do that. Her eyebrows furrowed. The next drone appeared, faster and more unpredictable. Lyra struck it with precision energy blasts, expecting the human to stumble. But he moved again with uncanny timing, using the environment, the walls, the platforms, even the shadows to his advantage. A crowd had gathered, whispering and murmuring in astonishment. Some alien students looked confused. He's fast, one muttered. But how? Lyra's pride stung. Her glowing markings pulsed erratically as she realized the human boy wasn't just surviving, he was adapting. And not in a weak, desperate way, but calmly, intelligently. After the session, Lyra followed him, curiosity mixed with a rare spark of respect. Human, she said, her voice quieter now. Wait. How? How did you do that? He turned, his expression serene. It's called thinking, he said simply. You can't rely on power alone. You have to understand the environment, predict moves, and adjust. Lyra frowned, annoyed that he spoke with such confidence. Maybe it's what you should, he said, smiling faintly again. Power isn't everything. Sometimes strategy is stronger. Lyra wanted to scoff, but a small part of her pride felt uneasy. She had never met anyone who could withstand her mockery and her skill without fear. This human boy was different. The day continued, but Lyra's thoughts were elsewhere. She watched him quietly during lunch, seeing him navigate alien foods, interact politely with others, and remain calm, even as some students tried to provoke him. Every small action seemed controlled, measured, intelligent. By the time the final training session ended, Lyra's curiosity had transformed into a burning need to understand him. She didn't like being outshone, especially not by a human. Later, in the empty corridors, she confronted him again. Tell me, human, where do you come from? Earth, right? I've read about humans. They're supposed to be weak. He nodded. Earth. Lyra's glow dimmed slightly. Weak? He tilted his head, smiling faintly but enigmatically. Humans are not weak. They are different. Sometimes that difference looks small at first, but it can be powerful in ways you can't imagine. Lyra's pride bristled. I don't believe you. That's nonsense. Perhaps, he said, turning to leave. But one day, you might see it for yourself. Lyra watched him go. A strange feeling she didn't like settling in her chest. Curiosity, unease, and, uncomfortably, respect. As night fell, the academy quieted. Lyra lay in her quarters, unable to stop thinking about the human boy. She remembered every precise movement he had made, every calculated choice. Her glowing markings flickered in thought. Tomorrow, she promised herself, she would watch him again. She would see what made him so extraordinary. And maybe, just maybe, she would find a way to beat him. But deep down, for the first time in her life, Lyra felt the stirrings of doubt. Humans were supposed to be weak, ordinary, easy to dismiss. Yet this one human, was anything but ordinary. And that realization made her heart race in a way she had never expected. The next morning, the corridors of Vera Academy were alive again with color and sound. Students from dozens of worlds moved gracefully through the hallways, their forms strange and beautiful. Lyra walked alone, her glowing markings flickering softly as she thought about the human boy. Ethan. She could not get his calm, measured actions out of her mind. It annoyed her more than she wanted to admit. How could someone, so weak-looking, so ordinary, act with such confidence? And how had he handled the drones yesterday with such precision? That was not possible, at least. It should not have been possible. Lyra decided she needed answers. Today, she would watch him, closely, and maybe, just maybe, test him herself. The first class of the day was on planetary physics, a subject Lyra excelled in. Ethan sat quietly in the back, taking notes with careful, neat handwriting. Other students whispered about him, some still mocking, some genuinely curious. But Ethan ignored them, focused entirely on the lesson. Lyra felt a strange irritation. How can he stay so calm? She muttered to herself. She decided she would speak to him directly after class. The class ended, and most students rushed to the training arena. Lyra, however, followed Ethan discreetly. He moved confidently, weaving through the crowds without effort, yet without using any obvious alien abilities. It was puzzling. Lyra's curiosity grew. She had to know. Why was he so different? Later, she found him in the Academy's library, a massive space filled with floating shelves and holographic books. Ethan was reading an ancient archive about Earth. His eyes moved quickly over the text, absorbing information at an almost impossible speed. Lyra stepped closer. Earth, huh? She said, trying to sound casual. Ethan looked up, his calm expression unchanged. That is what many believe, he said. But belief is not truth. Lyra blinked. What do you mean? He smiled faintly. Humans are different, not weak. Just not the same as other species. Lyra narrowed her eyes. Different how? You can't fight like a Veyran. You can't move like an Ilari. You can't even levitate your bag properly. Ethan's smile did not falter. True. But humans have abilities that are subtle, hidden, not flashy. Skills that only show when needed. Lyra frowned. Hidden abilities? That sounds impossible. Ethan stood and gestured to a holographic map of Earth. Earth is a harsh planet. Humans had to survive floods, storms, cold, heat, predators. Over thousands of years, we learned to adapt, to think, to survive. Our strength is not obvious. It is intelligence, strategy, and endurance. Lyra's pride flared. He shook his head. It is more than that. Humans can sense patterns, predict actions, and adapt instantly. We can survive in ways most species cannot. And when threatened, we fight differently. Not with raw power, but with wit, timing, and resilience. Lyra's glowing markings flickered rapidly. She could not understand it. She had always measured strength by what she could see: energy blasts, speed, telekinesis. How could strategy be stronger than raw power? Ethan noticed her doubt. I can show you, he said calmly. But you must observe, carefully. Lyra's curiosity overrode her pride. She nodded. Fine. He led her to the training arena, where drones hovered, ready to test students. Lyra expected another display of human weakness. She did not expect what happened next. A drone swooped toward Ethan, faster than any she had seen. Lyra tensed, ready to intervene, but he did nothing. Then, with a series of small, precise movements, he dodged the drone. Not with brute strength, but by anticipating its path. Using the walls, shadows, and floating platforms, the drone crashed into the floor, harmlessly. Lyra's eyes widened. That should not have been possible. How did you? Ethan simply smiled. Observation, calculation, adaptation. Another drone appeared. This one more advanced and unpredictable. Lyra watched, stunned, as Ethan outmaneuvered it again. He did not strike with power. He used angles, timing, and leverage, making the drone defeat itself. The other students stopped to watch, whispering in shock. Some Vayrans muttered, "He's incredible." Lyra felt her pride sting. She was used to being the best. And now, she realized that raw power alone was not enough. This human boy, so small, so ordinary, was doing things she had never seen. After the session, Lyra followed him again. How are you doing this?" she asked. Ethan looked at her calmly. "It is what humans do. We survive by thinking, by adapting. Our bodies may not be strong in the usual sense, but our minds are sharp. Our instincts are honed." Lyra frowned, still unwilling to accept it. "But this is academy-level training. You should not be able to do this." He tilted his head. "I am not normal. My ancestors were Terran guardians, humans who survived impossible conditions and threats on Earth. They trained to think faster, to predict danger, and to overcome challenges. I inherited those skills." 4. Lyra froze. "Terran guardians? That's legend. They were supposed to be extinct." Ethan nodded. "Most species think so. But some of us remain. Humans are underestimated because they appear weak. But we endure. We adapt. We survive. And when needed, we fight differently." Lyra's glowing markings pulsed erratically. Her mind struggled to accept what he said. She had mocked humans all her life. She had laughed at their weakness. And now, this one human had proven her wrong. She wanted to leave. She wanted to run away and pretend she had not seen it. But something inside her would not let her. She needed to understand him. She needed to see how far his abilities could go. Over the next days, Lyra observed Ethan more closely. She watched him interact with alien students, calmly mediating arguments, solving problems with clever solutions, and excelling in every challenge, not with raw power, but with ingenuity. Every observation increased her curiosity and her unease. She could not understand why a species considered weak could outperform so many powerful aliens. Finally, unable to contain herself, she confronted him again in the library. "You're different," she said, her voice quieter than usual. "Not weak, not ordinary. But how?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I told you. Humans are different. We are adaptable, patient, intelligent. We do not rely on strength alone. Strength comes in many forms, Lyra." Lyra's pride burned. She wanted to argue. She wanted to say he was lying. But deep inside, she knew he was telling the truth. And that realization was frightening. Ethan continued, his voice calm. "I do not wish to belittle anyone. I am not stronger because I am human. I am strong because I adapt, observe, and endure. Humans have survived countless threats that would have destroyed other species. And we continue to survive because we learn, we think, and we act when others hesitate." Lyra's glowing markings dimmed. She was quiet, for once unable to form a response. Her mind reeled with the possibility that humans, the species she had always dismissed, were not weak at all. "You are amazing," she said finally, almost whispering. I never thought." Ethan looked at her calmly. "Do not praise me yet. Observe carefully, and perhaps you will understand. But do not underestimate humans again. Our abilities are quiet, subtle, and often overlooked. But, when necessary, they are extraordinary." Lyra's heart raced. She felt a mixture of fear, awe, and a strange excitement she could not name. She had always measured herself against others based on visible power. Now, she realized there were abilities she had never considered, skills she could not predict. And the human boy before her, he was living proof. As the day ended, Lyra followed Ethan back to the Academy's observation deck. They stood, side by side, watching the glowing city of Vera below. "I never expected this," Lyra admitted quietly. "Humans. I thought they were weak, ordinary. But you are different. I don't know what to think." Ethan smiled faintly. "That is the first step, Lyra. Understanding, curiosity, respect. These are the qualities that lead to true strength." Lyra's glowing markings pulsed gently as she considered his words. Tomorrow, she decided, she would test him again. Not to mock, not to prove superiority, but to learn. She wanted to see how far his abilities went. And deep down, she felt a strange thrill at the challenge. For the first time, Lyra realized that humans were not to be underestimated, and the galaxy might not be ready for the quiet, unassuming power they possessed. The training arena of Vera Academy had never felt so tense. Drones hovered silently, their sensors glowing red, waiting to see who would strike first. Students from every corner of the academy had gathered to watch. Whispers filled the air. Lyra, violet markings pulsing brightly, stood on the far side of the arena. Across from her, Ethan, the human boy she had once mocked, stood calm, his expression unreadable. For weeks, Lyra had watched Ethan, studied him, tried to predict him. Every observation had left her more confused, more frustrated. She had learned a valuable lesson. Humans were not weak. This one human, at least, was extraordinary. Yet her pride would not let her accept defeat easily. She would try. She would win. The Academy's instructor raised his voice, signaling the start of the match. "Today, you will face each other not only in strength, but in skill and strategy. Let the test begin." Lyra immediately activated her energy shields, glowing lines spreading along her arms. She leapt forward, moving with speed and precision, her attacks aimed to overwhelm. She expected Ethan to falter, to hesitate, to be weak. But he did not. He waited, watching, observing, calculating. The first strike came from Lyra, a blast of concentrated energy that would have sent any normal human flying. Ethan moved not with speed, not with raw force, but with clever timing. He used the walls, the platforms, even the drone shadows, to redirect the blast harmlessly. The arena lights flickered as the energy dissipated around him. Lyra's markings pulsed erratically. Her attack had failed, and she could not understand why. Humans were supposed to be weak, fragile, predictable. Yet this one anticipated her move as if he had seen it before it even happened. She struck again. Faster this time, combining her telekinesis with energy blasts. Ethan ducked and rolled, using precise movements to turn her own momentum against her. Each attack she made was countered, not with strength, but with wit, timing, and adaptability. The audience was silent, eyes wide. Even the most skilled alien cadets could not move with such intelligence in combat. Whispers spread. "He's incredible. Impossible." Lyra's pride burned. She had always measured herself against others using what she could see. Flashy powers, speed, brute force. But Ethan did not fight like anyone else. His strength was invisible, subtle, and deadly. "Come on, human," Lyra shouted, frustration creeping into her voice. "Show me your weakness." Creeping. "On. Come on." Ethan remained calm. "I have no weakness, you can see," he said. Strength is not always what you expect. Lyra lunged forward, her movements a blur. Ethan shifted slightly, and in that moment, she realized something shocking. He was using the environment. Every platform, every shadow, every angle of the arena became part of his defense and attack. Her energy blasts hit nothing but empty air. Her confidence faltered. She had underestimated him. A small voice in her mind whispered that this human was more than she could handle. The second phase of the match began. Hand-to-hand combat. Lyra charged, expecting to overpower him. But Ethan moved with perfect timing, dodging, twisting, and redirecting her strikes. He did not try to match her strength. He used her force against her. Each move left Lyra more astonished. The more she tried to dominate, the more Ethan adapted. She had trained for years, faced the best of Vera Academy, yet she felt outmatched. Not by raw power, but by intelligence and adaptability. Humans, she muttered under her breath. How can something so small be so strong? Ethan smiled faintly. It is not the size of the body, Lyra. It is the size of the mind, the spirit, and the ability to adapt. Lyra's markings flickered rapidly. She had been arrogant, thinking she could mock him, defeat him easily. But she had been wrong. Completely wrong. The match entered its final stage. Strategy. The drones reactivated, more aggressive and faster. Lyra unleashed her full power, energy blasts, telekinetic strikes, and enhanced speed. But Ethan's calmness never wavered. He moved fluidly, predicting the drones' paths, turning the environment into his ally. Lyra watched in disbelief as he dodged, trapped, and redirected the drones against each other. In moments, the arena was filled with crashing, harmless drones, and Ethan stood unscathed. The audience erupted in astonished applause. Alien students murmured in disbelief. Even the instructors leaned forward, studying him carefully. Lyra felt her pride shatter. She had never met anyone like this. Not in the academy, not in her entire life. This human, so ordinary-looking, was extraordinary. She stepped forward, lowering her energy shield slightly. I don't understand, she admitted. How can you do this? Ethan looked at her calmly. Because humans are adaptable. We survive by observing, thinking, and acting. We do not rely solely on strength or flashy powers. We plan, we predict, we endure. That is our true power. Lyra's mind raced. She realized something profound. She had judged him by appearances, by what she could see. But true strength was more than visible power. It was intelligence, strategy, patience, and resilience. She nodded slowly, a gesture of respect forming in her mind. I see now. Humans are not weak. You are strong in ways I never imagined. Ethan smiled faintly. And there are many humans like me. Lyra, you may see weakness, but look closer, and you will find strength. Not always obvious, but undeniable. Lyra's glowing markings dimmed slightly, a sign of her changing thoughts. She had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate anyone, especially not someone you do not understand. The match ended. The instructor stepped forward, nodding in approval. Today, you have both demonstrated skills beyond expectation, but it is clear one student has shown extraordinary strategy and intelligence. Humans, though rare, must not be underestimated. Lyra looked at Ethan, feeling a mix of awe and humility. I misjudged you, she admitted. I mocked you, and I was wrong. Humans, you are amazing. Ethan's faint smile widened. Thank you, Lyra. Respect is earned through understanding, not fear. And now, perhaps, we can learn from each other. For the first time, Lyra felt a strange excitement. Not the thrill of victory, but the thrill of discovery. She had underestimated humans, and that mistake had opened her eyes. There was much to learn, and she was eager to explore it. In the following days, Lyra and Ethan began training together. She taught him some Veyron techniques, while he shared human strategies. How to anticipate movements, read opponents, and use the environment to one's advantage. Together, they became an unstoppable team, blending raw alien power with subtle human ingenuity. The other students watched in awe as Lyra and Ethan moved together in perfect synchronization, their combined skills unmatched. The Academy had never seen such a partnership. Whispers spread quickly. Humans were no longer the weak species everyone assumed. One evening, on the observation deck overlooking the glowing city of Vera, Lyra turned to Ethan. "You've changed everything I thought I knew," she said softly. I used to think humans were weak. Now I know. They're strong in ways I never imagined. You've opened my eyes." Ethan looked at her calmly, eyes reflecting the city lights. "Strength is not always visible, Lyra. It is patience, intelligence, and the will to adapt. Humans survived where others might fail, and that is only the beginning." Lyra smiled, a new respect shining in her eyes. "Then maybe we can show the galaxy that humans are not what it thinks." Ethan nodded. "Yes, the galaxy will be surprised. And sometimes, surprises are the most powerful weapon of all." For the first time, Lyra realized that her human classmate, once the target of her mockery, was not only her equal, but a teacher in ways she had never expected. Together, they would challenge every assumption, every prejudice, and perhaps even reshape how the galaxy saw humans forever. As the twin moons of Vera rose high in the sky, casting silver light over the Academy, Lyra and Ethan stood side by side. The city sparkled below them, and a new chapter began not just for them, but for humanity in the galaxy. And Lyra knew, deep in her heart, that humans would never again be underestimated.